Welcome to our latest episode of Voices in Veterinary. I'm Laura Dennis, and today I have a special guest, Adrian Wysock, who's here working at Xoran as a product manager, but she's also in veterinary technician mode. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your just experience and background so our listeners and our viewers can find out more about you.
Sure. I was a veterinary technician for about 25 years. I worked largely in emergency and specialty medicine, but I have spent time in day practice, I've spent time in veterinary sales, and I've worked in mostly teaching hospitals in Michigan, Oregon, California, and Hawaii.
Wow. What's super exciting about having someone with your type of experience here at Xoran is we can get, it's another Voice in Veterinary, and we can get really relevant feedback about what it's like to be in the trenches at the hospital and help improve our products and our services so they make sense for the clinician. But we're going to start off by asking my 5 famous questions. First off, what makes you so passionate about working in veterinary?
I just love being an advocate for animals. They can't speak for themselves. And when I first started working at animal hospitals approximately 1 million years ago, I thought I wanted to be a veterinarian, like many people do when they start working at animal hospitals. But I realized not too long after that I got to do all the stuff that I thought being a veterinarian was as a technician. I got to be an advocate for patients. I got to be an advocate for clients. I got to be the one to hold their paws through difficult experiences. And that was much more powerful to me than having somebody call me doctor. So, and throughout my career, it's really been a focus of mine to make sure that I can be an advocate for the animals who can't speak for themselves. I can be an advocate for the clients who might not understand what's going on. And the doctor I work with may or may not have the bedside manner to effectively explain it to them. So my goal has always been to leave veterinary medicine a little bit better than I found it. And thankfully at Xoran, I've been able to keep doing that even though I'm not working in the field anymore.
Exactly. I think that's it's a common thread that we're seeing in all of my interviews here. They helping with that advocacy or giving voice to our animal patients is so powerful, and that's where our products are so interesting because it actually shows what is going on inside the animal that you can't see with your own eye, that the can't be explained because our animals, unfortunately don't talk, and I'm sure so many people would. It's a wish list type of dream that they could, and being able to do this and have that diagnostic capability is super exciting here at Xoran.
I don't know if you've ever seen the Far Side commercial, little Far Side bit where it says Dr. So-and-so developed the first ever dog translation machine.
Oh,
and there's one where it shows a bunch of dogs barking at Dr. So-and-so, and the second one is him wearing the translation machine, and all the dogs are just saying, hey, hey, hey.
Okay. I love that cartoon. Okay, so what trends are you seeing in hospitals?
Oh, veterinary medicine, we're really at a cusp here right now where veterinary medicine is taking a huge leap forward. Having worked largely, as I said, in emergency and specialty medicine, I was usually at sort of the running forefront of what's happening in veterinary medicine. And people were always shocked to hear that all the stuff that you do in people, we do in animals. I did tons of fluoroscopy procedures. We did cardiac catheterization procedures. We did anything you do in people, for the most part, we do in animals. But we're learning a lot recently about ways for animals to be more comfortable during those procedures, ways for animals to give their consent to participate in those kinds of procedures. And we're learning a lot from our human medical cohorts to be able to take even more advanced things and bring them into veterinary medicine. In some ways, parts of veterinary medicine have been like battlefield medicine and they haven't changed in 100 years.
Right.
And in other ways, we've really shot forward. So I feel like we're getting a big kind of leveling of the playing field right now, where everybody's kind of coming together with more advanced techniques, with more modern techniques, with considerations for the emotions of the animal, with being able to have these great diagnostics to make the choices. And those choices aren't always a big surgery. Sometimes the choices are to say, nope, it's not. it's not for us.
I think that's so interesting, this concept of consent. I always bring my analogies back to my children, and one doctor thought I was crazy for waiting for my daughter to consent to getting a shot. Let's just wait for her to wrap her head around it, take a deep breath, and say that she's ready. It takes 2 seconds, and then we don't have to deal with the screaming. So just tell her to be okay. Like, on it.
Okay.
But so finding those ways to have the client and the animal be able to participate in some of this care, it's very, very, very interesting. It makes me think of that fear-free clinics. I think it can remove that stereotype that your animal's going to have to hate going to a veterinarian.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a fear-free certified technician and fear-free certified dog trainer.
Okay.
And there's also, and fear-free is the most recent and probably most successful iteration of this kind of consent giving. But it started probably back in the late 80s, early 90s with some veterinarians and behaviorists who knew that this didn't have to be horrible for them.
Right. So what are the most important issues hospitals will face this year?
I think COVID really brought some very interesting challenges to veterinary medicine. One of those is that veterinary medicine did not suffer in the same way that many other industries did.
Right.
In fact, they just got busier. So I think some of the biggest issues in veterinary medicine right now are going to continue to be amplified, and that is a lack of supportive medical staff. That is a lack of veterinary technicians, a lack of assistants, a lack of receptionists, fewer veterinarians. Vets right now are coming out of vet school with $300,000 in debt. And there's not a lot of people who are willing to take that on.
Right.
To say, I'm going to take 8 years off my life and come out $300,000 in debt. And then make less money than my technicians when I start paying my student loans because of how much this all costs. So it's really just that the demand has far outgrown the supply of the people who are able to do the work. And we did learn a lot of lessons from COVID too about ways we can improve throughput in the hospital, ways we can improve efficiency. And this is another way that our Xoran products can make a massive difference. Instead of someone having to take their dog in for one procedure at their regular vet and then take them over to their referral specialist, to the radiologist, and then get some advanced imaging and then come back into their, regular vet and then have the regular vet tell them what the specialist said and the radiologist said and then plan another surgery.
Right.
Instead, we can do all of that in one location.
Right.
And you can do it in one visit.
Yeah. I think that's going to be the wave of the future, and this is something that came up in another episode with Jackie Vestovich, Xoran's executive chairperson. We were talking about how initially hospitals braced for impact. Oh my gosh, we're going to be shut down, no one's going to get their pet taken care of, and it was quite the opposite. In fact, people got more pets. And so now I see so much growth happening in the industry, so many new clinics opening. There's a backlog for contractors, what have you. But the preparation now is figuring out how your clinic is going to be a differentiator 3 to 4 years from now when all of those new facilities are open, when we've overcome some of those challenges. The people who are smart are figuring out how to attract that veterinary talent, how to attract and keep technician talent. But growth and differentiation, and part of that is what type of diagnostic tools do you have available? Are you on the forefront of minimally invasive approaches, fear-free care? All of these things that are going to attract the clientele, they're going to be willing to pay for that type of experience.
Yeah, in a conversation I had with a veterinarian recently who's opening up a new practice, he said, well, we have to have advanced imaging or else we won't be able to attract residents to come to our facility.
Yep.
We won't be able to attract the kind of doctors we want to have working here unless we can offer advanced imaging.
Right. And that goes part and parcel with also bringing in diagnostic capabilities that are not available at PetSmart or through a mall subscription. This fly, gosh, I just got to acknowledge it because it's like it's like the elephant in the room, but it's so tiny.
The world's tiniest elephant.
I promise you, it's there. It's not a figment of my imagination.
It's not, I saw it.
Yes, thank you. Being prepared for all of those changes that are happening is really crucial now, and making the investment in your clinic, in those diagnostic capabilities to be out ahead of what is going to be coming, I think is super crucial.
Yeah, and advanced imaging is one way you can really be going at one of the big issues in veterinary medicine, which is burnout.
Right. Right.
And if you have the ability to, I've done it as a technician. I've taken a half hour to take dental radiographs. And it is one of the most frustrating and demeaning things, because you just get it wrong, you get it wrong, you get it wrong, you get it wrong. It takes a half an hour. If you can do that instead in 2 minutes, I feel way better about my day. I don't get burned out on taking 3 hours of dental x-rays every single day. I am able to then, we can do more advanced care for our patients. I can offer more patient care. I don't have to feel like I am a treatment machine.
That's very interesting. Yes, all of our products, whether they're full body or head only, do have dental imaging capabilities. And that CT scan takes 20 to 40 seconds. You add in a minute for patient positioning. You already have the animal under anesthesia or sedation, and you have that full diagnostic data set complete very quickly and available for the clinician to view, and less anesthesia time for the animal.
Oh yeah, as less anesthesia time in every possible way. Having worked with a traditional CT in a referral hospital, when I was working for a double-boarded cardiologist, veterinary internal medicine specialist, those are not patients you want to keep under anesthesia for a long time. And if we're trying to figure out if we're going to do a procedure, we're talking about induce anesthesia, move into the CT room, position, perform a traditional CT, 30 to 45 minutes right there. Then we have to have the radiologist look at it, and then decide, are we going to go on and do another procedure? If so, we're already an hour in on anesthesia, and that could be a huge problem, not just for our patients who are already compromised, but for our small patients who are just losing body heat. You can't cover a patient while you have a CT going on. They're moving in, they're moving out, you're putting them on a bed, you're moving them over to somewhere else, you're moving them into a cold surgery suite. And so there's a lot of dangers with that extended anesthesia, not the least of which being technician burnout, doctor burnout, additional costs for radiologists, injury, because imagine it's one thing to do that on a cat and it's another thing to do that on a Great Dane.
Right. And being able to wheel our system right up to the procedure table is so powerful. Incidental findings is also a huge element to having that point of care CT. And then one thing that we'll get into probably in a later episode is this concept of having a radiologist there to assist you with fast readings. And that's something that is changing here in our cone beam CT industry, where we are seeing more and more radiologists who are willing to do that CT interpretation for our clinicians.
Yeah, that's huge. That's a huge important piece.
Yes.
Veterinarians aren't trained in school how to read CTs, unlike medical doctors. So having that extra little bit of help makes all the difference in the confidence.
Agreed. Yep, it's all about the confidence. So next question, of whom are you the guardian?
I am the guardian of myself, but also, and that's a work in progress, but also I am the guardian of many, 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 many animals.
Oh, okay.
I have currently 9 cats living at my house.
Wow.
I have 3 cats of my own. I took in a foster kitty who was a neighborhood stray who's very, very, very pregnant. Anyone want a kitten? Let me know. And she and her 6 kittens, who are now 2 weeks old.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Are adorable and happily living in my office, and will be looking for homes. And then I'll be back down to a normal number of cats.
Okay, well, you heard it here. So it's not 9 cats all roaming around. There's little kittens. And do you have placeholder names for them according to a theme?
They are all named. My husband's from Mexico, so they are all named after Mexican numbers, except for the first one who came out. We named him Juan.
Okay.
And the others are dos, tres, cuatro, cinco, seis.
Okay, all right, that's very, very cute. Okay.
But as they grow up and start to move around a little more, I think we'll give them cutesy little names.
Okay.
And of course, whoever ends up taking the kittens, it's not going to be me, will be able to name them whatever they'd like.
Okay, super fun. And what about any dogs?
3 dogs.
Okay.
Chow Chow and 2 Grenadine Belgian Shepherds. They are one is retired and one is a current working search and rescue dog. He does urban rubble search and rescue, so he finds people who are trapped in collapsed buildings after earthquakes and natural disasters.
Wow, super interesting. Super interesting. And my 5th question and final question: what is your craziest veterinary office story?
There are so many. How about the time I got bit in the butt by an alligator? I was doing relief work.
It's not a competition, but this might be the winner. So go ahead. I'm just thinking like squirrel, alligator. Go ahead. I'm hearing this story for the first time.
I've been bit by a lot of animals, but this one's probably the most outrageous.
Okay.
I was doing relief shifts at a local general practice in Portland, Oregon when I lived there. And in Portland, they have very liberal laws on what pets you're allowed to own. You pretty much just need a wildlife permit.
Okay.
And then you can own anything, which is why I was also bit by a serval, a small plains cat. By small, I mean like dog-sized, plains cat.
Okay.
I saw plenty of servals, but the alligator was cooler. So a guy came in with an alligator who apparently was feeling lethargic and didn't have much of an appetite. And I asked the doctor, like, what do you want me to do? Normal procedure, we would call it a TPR. You go in, you get a temperature, pulse, respiration, get a little history, find out what's going on. I would tell that to the doctor, who then goes and works with the client and kind of makes a plan. So it was like, I have no idea how to take the temperature of an alligator, nor do I want to. And he said, it's fine, just find out what's going on, so I know what I'm getting into. So I walked in. It's a very small exam room. I walked in and hi, and what's going on? And it's an alligator who's probably about, not huge, like 2.5, 3 feet, not including the tail. So, like this-ish. So on the smaller side. So I walked in, what's going on? He said, oh, he's lethargic, he's not eating. I'm worried about him because especially these kinds of creatures can go downhill fast. I said, okay, and it's so small I had to turn around to write this down. And he lunged at me and he bit me in the butt. And thankfully, the first win, I did not scream any swear words.
Okay.
Second win, I started laughing because it was the most ridiculous thing I could ever think of.
Okay.
And the client also had a very good sense of humor, and he said, well, I guess he just didn't see anything he was hungry for until now.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, my gosh. He ripped my pants off, so I got some extra scrubs and went directly to the emergency room, where they promptly didn't believe me that I got bit in the butt by an alligator.
Oh, they were making up plenty of stories behind the scenes with that one.
Yes.
Okay, and you're okay today.
Everything's
and
fine.
You're sitting just fine. I can see that.
Yep, I had to spend the night in the hospital and get some IV antibiotics and quite a bit of pain medication, and I sat on a lot of pillows for a couple of weeks. But aside from that, no major damage.
And you still worked in veterinary after that?
For about another 15 years after that, yes.
Okay.
I did refuse to work on alligators after that.
Yes. That sounds like a good decision. That sounds like a
Got to set those boundaries.
Yes. Yes. That's right. I was thinking if it were me, I would have already drawn that line before walking in, but you're more game for those things than I am, I guess. So that's hysterical. Do you know the name of the alligator?
I don't remember. We could make one up. Sparky. Chopper.
Well, you'll have to write in and vote or suggest a placeholder name for our alligator who did bite Adrienne in the hindquarters. But that is all we have for our Voices in Veterinary podcast today. This was from the perspective of Adrienne, our Xoran product manager for veterinary and a technician. So we really appreciate you stopping by today. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was super fun.
Thank you. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.